Batman Arkham Asylum showed everyone that superhero games could be amazing, and with the success of Spider-Man PS4, I think we're going to be seeing a lot more superhero games. However, if anyone deserves one, it's Daredevil. Daredevil is an interesting superhero because he's blind. While his eyes may not necessarily work, he can still see through the use of all his other senses. His sense of hearing and smell is stronger than most animals. His skin can detect changes in air pressure, and he can taste the individual ingredients of everything he eats. All of his senses combined create a radar sense that allows him to see everything around him. He's also a master acrobat, detective, and martial artist. I think that his unique perspective of the world and set of skills can make for an amazing game if done correctly. Let's talk about how to do that. In Season 1 of Daredevil, he describes his sight as a world on fire. This would be an awesome visual style for the game. It could have a cel-shaded, minimalist look to give it that comic book feel. One game that has a unique look that I'm kinda describing is Mirror's Edge. It's just missing the cel shade. It uses few colors but manages to look astonishing. By the way, I'll be referencing this game throughout the video because a lot can be learned from it. Daredevil would be a third-person action-adventure game with an emphasis on traversal, combat, and stealth. Levels and missions would be linear, but would be designed with multiple ways to overcome any obstacle. This encourages decision-making, which can make the game feel more engaging. Mirror's Edge did something similar to this. This is the first level. You can either go up this way, or this way. Despite being linear, players have more freedom to play how they want. I would also like a mission select in the game, that way I could play through my favorite parts again easily, which is something missing from the Arkham games and Spider-Man. In Mirror's Edge, the movement is easy to learn but hard to master. You could jump, vault over objects, climb, crawl, slide, roll, and a lot more. Combining all these moves together allows you to traverse across the cityscape seamlessly. I believe this movement system would work perfectly with Daredevil. Some things could be added though to give it that Daredevil feel. Things like his grappling hook and his crazy flips. The traversal system would also tie into combat like in Mirror's Edge. In that game, many attacks are context sensitive. For example, attacking while standing still performs a punch, and attacking while jumping performs a kick. The combat system in this game left a lot to be desired, but this was one of the things I liked about it. Daredevil would share some of these aspects, but I think it worked best as a beat-em-up akin to Devil May Cry. Devil May Cry has combos that perform different attacks, but they're like tools. Each combo is designed to handle a situation better than the others. For example, this move hits many enemies but doesn't do a lot of damage, while this move is the opposite. Devil May Cry prevents players from abusing certain moves with the style system. Style is gained by varying attacks and lost by taking damage. The incentive to gain style is that it gives you currency to buy more moves and other upgrades. Some of the characters in Devil May Cry can switch weapons on the fly, and like the moves, each weapon has their own use. In the comics and show, Daredevil uses two billy clubs. They can transform into an Eskrima stick, nunchaku, and, gotta pump myself up for this one, Manriki Gusari? I don't know. That's 5 different weapons when you count his fist. If every weapon had 10 different moves, that'd be 50 plus moves at your disposal. Ranged attacks are also a factor in many beat-em-ups, and Daredevil wouldn't be any different. Pressing a button would cause him to throw whatever's in his hands, whether it be a billy club or a microwave. Let's talk about defense. Daredevil could have a dodge button, and pressing it would make him do a short-range dash. To encourage a high-risk, high-reward playstyle, dodging right before an attack hits causes Daredevil to do a flip. Attacking right after this performs a counterattack, which does a lot of damage and puts enemies in a stunned state for a very short duration. Also, pressing the dodge while in the air causes you to do a variety of acrobatic maneuvers like this. If Daredevil had a system like this, combat would look a lot like the fight scenes in the show. No combat system is complete without some fun enemies to fight. The first type could be basic, unarmed, street-level criminals that are easy to fight but are numerous. The second type could be weapon wielders. These enemies have a longer range, do more damage, and have slightly more health. The third type could be ranged enemies that use guns but have low health. They can't hit you as long as you move fast and don't run directly at them. The fourth type could be the Hand. They are harder to see because of their ninja training, and they can follow you anywhere. Mirror's Edge has enemies that do this, and they make for exhilarating chase sequences. To mix up the gameplay, it'd be interesting if some enemies carried items that disrupted each one of your senses. For example, one enemy type could carry around a device that disrupts your hearing. This would affect the game audio and your vision. Your screen could get a little blurry, and as more of your senses become overwhelmed, you lose more and more of your sight. Having all of Daredevil's senses disrupted causes you to be nearly blind. Everything can be restored by destroying the items or by having it rain. In Season 1, we learned that rain allows Daredevil to see perfectly, and this could act as a buff. Whenever you're outside, there's a chance for it to rain, and when it does, you get perfect vision and can see enemies through walls like the ability Dark Vision in Dishonored. There's probably a better way for this to be implemented, but this was the only thing I can think of. One of Daredevil's biggest strengths is his hearing, which is often an important mechanic in stealth games. One game where your ears are your eyes is the 1998 classic Thief, The Dark Project. I'm going to play a clip of gameplay, and I want you to try to determine where the guard is.
Ich glaube nicht, dass es stimmt, was Sie erzählen. Hat vermutlich nie gestimmt. Aber ich bin ihm gefolgt wie ein Lemming. Vermutlich lachen Sie über mich hinter meinem Rücken. Stimmt nicht, nein.
You could probably tell he was walking from left to right and then turned around to go back. Daredevil would need directional audio like this not only for stealth, but for combat and many other things as well. Another mechanic in Thief is darkness. If you stay perfectly still or move very slowly in shadows, enemies can't spot you unless they're right next to you. You can also create darkness by shooting out torches. Daredevil does this in the show to gain the advantage on his enemies. He will either locate and shut down the power box or destroy lights by throwing his billy clubs at them. These mechanics can make for dynamic stealth sections and add strategy to enemy encounters. And remember how I mentioned that certain enemies could carry devices that could affect your senses? Well, imagine having your hearing taken away during stealth. Then you would have to rely on other senses, such as smell, to evade enemies. Daredevil has a library of great villains and stories to choose from. Any story that tests Daredevil to his absolute limit would be good. I also think it'd be best if the game focused on one or two villains. In the Arkham series and Spider-Man PS4, we fight so many villains. While it seemed awesome at first, I was always let down after their boss fights. I knew Batman and Spider-Man were going to come out on top in every encounter they had with a villain, and they always did without even breaking a sweat. Look at Deathstroke in Arkham Origins and Arkham Knight. Normally, Deathstroke wipes the floor with Batman, but because he wasn't the main focus in the story, he was reduced to just another obstacle. These games don't spend enough time building these villains up, and as a result, defeating them feels underwhelming. The same thing happened with the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. Spider-Man 1 and 2 focused on one villain each, while Spider-Man 3 tried to juggle 3, and look how well that turned out. To sum it all up, the perfect Daredevil game would have Mirror's Edge traversal, the complex and rewarding combat of Devil May Cry, and Thief's stealth system. The game would be linear so that it can provide a more concentrated experience, and would learn from the Arkham games and Spider-Man PS4 by focusing on a smaller cast of villains. I don't know about you guys, but I'd play the hell out of this game. Anyways, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.